Welcome back to my channel, Celebs. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. It took 9 years before I started to play at nightclubs in Southern California. The boots, the hat, the voice, you could never mistake. Dwight Yoakam wasn't just a country music star. He was like a symbol of real feelings and true stories. For more than 40 years, fans felt every broken heart, every lost love, and every lonely road right along with him. But now something has come up that none of us were ready for. A final letter. A few very personal words from Dwight himself, written when he was alone, now shared with everyone. The letter was never meant for newspaper headlines. It was meant for his fans, his family, and the people who lived their lives with his songs in their hearts. As the world thinks about the man behind the music, we now look at his last message, a goodbye that made many people cry. Dwight Yoakam was born on October 23rd, 1956 in the small mountain town of Pikeville, Kentucky. But not long after, his family moved north to Columbus, Ohio, where he would spend most of his childhood. Even as a kid, Dwight was different. He wasn't interested in what was popular. He was pulled toward what was real. His music heroes weren't the ones topping the charts. They were storytellers like Buck Owens, Johnny Cash, and Merle Haggard. While other kids listened to top 40 radio, Dwight was learning every word of classic honky-tonk songs and early rockabilly records. From a young age, he felt like an outsider, but in his own words, that feeling would later become what drove him forward. He started performing in high school, playing guitar in local bands, and writing songs full of heartache and rebellion. He went to Ohio State University for a short time, but the classroom couldn't hold him. His real learning was happening in small bars, empty clubs, and wherever he could sneak in a performance. He knew he didn't belong in a regular life, and he wasn't going to settle for one. In the early 1980s, with nothing but a beat-up guitar and a head full of dreams, Dwight packed up and headed west to Los Angeles. It wasn't the obvious choice for a country singer. Nashville, after all, was where the music business was. But Dwight already knew he wasn't the kind of artist Nashville wanted. He was too country for the rock scene and too rock for country radio. Instead of changing, he stuck to his guns. Los Angeles became his testing ground. He began playing anywhere that would have him, often at punk rock clubs where no one expected a man in cowboy boots singing about broken heart. But somehow it worked. He wasn't trying to be cool. He was trying to be honest, and the honesty hit people like a freight train. His early shows drew a strange but loyal mix of cowboys, punks, and wanderers, all pulled in by something raw and real. What truly set Dwight apart was his commitment to a sound that had been left behind. He embraced the Bakersfield style, a twangy, electrified type of country music started by Buck Owens and Merle Haggard, music that Nashville had long since traded in for smooth and polished sounds. Dwight brought it back with attitude. He wore skin-tight jeans, a tilted cowboy hat, and had a stage presence that was equal parts Elvis Presley and hillbilly rebel. He didn't ask for approval. He just sang his truth and waited for the world to catch up, and slowly it did. He released a series of independent recordings that turned heads. Soon, music business people started showing up to his shows, trying to understand what was happening. By the time his first album, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., came out in 1986, he had already built a loyal following. The record wasn't just a success, it was a statement. Dwight wasn't here to play by the rules, he was here to rewrite them. And yet, despite the growing fame, he never lost that underdog energy. The feeling of being the outsider never really left, and in some ways, that's what made him so magnetic to fans. He didn't just sing about loneliness, he lived it. He didn't just write about struggle, he knew it firsthand. He was carving out a path no one expected, chasing a sound no one believed in anymore. And slowly the world started to listen. In 1986, Guitars, Cadillacs, etc., didn't just put Dwight Yoakam on the map, it redrew the map entirely. With his first studio album, he didn't simply make noise in the country scene, he split it wide open. At a time when slick, radio-friendly country pop ruled the airwaves, Dwight's raw, rockabilly-influenced sound felt like a thunderclap from another era. The twang of a guitar, the echo of a lonely voice, and lyrics that cut deep. It was more than nostalgia, it was revolution. The album became a sleeper hit, first gaining traction in Los Angeles before catching fire nationwide. It climbed the charts and never looked back. Songs like Honky Tonk Man and the title track became fan anthems, not just because they were catchy, but because they were true. Dwight followed that success with an almost unstoppable run of albums. Hillbilly Deluxe, Buenas Noches from a Lonely Room, If There Was a Way. Each one delivered a new wave of hits while never straying from the grit and honesty that first won him respect. He didn't just sing country music, he brought it back to life. Tracks like 1,000 Miles from Nowhere, Turn It On, Turn It Up, Turn Me Loose, and Fast as You blended classic sensibilities with modern edge. Radio couldn't ignore him, critics couldn't deny him, and fans held onto his voice like a lifeline. But behind the rapid fire success, life wasn't as smooth as it looked from the outside. With fame came pressure, with praise came scrutiny. The touring never stopped, the demands piled up, and somewhere along the way, the lights started to feel a little too bright. Dwight was always a private person, and the industry's glare began to wear him down. The more his star rose, the more he withdrew. People came and went, some friends drifted away, others were lost for good. One of the hardest blows came in 1992 when his father passed away. Though Dwight rarely spoke publicly about personal matters, he opened up about the loss in a few interviews. It was a defining moment, one that forced him to think deeply and one that changed his music forever. The grief didn't break him. It poured into his songs like rain on dry earth. Some of my best songs came out of the worst moments in my life, he admitted. It wasn't a line meant to impress. It was his truth. And his fans felt it. Every verse, every chorus, every mournful steel guitar note seemed to echo something unspoken in the listener's own heart. Whether they were going through heartbreak, burying someone they loved, or simply trying to survive another lonely night, Dwight's music met them there. He didn't offer easy answers, he offered understanding. He poured his pain into the music, and fans could feel it in every note. Dwight wasn't just a singer, he was a creator, a true multi-talented artist who lived and breathed performance in all its forms. From the very beginning of his career, he refused to play by anyone else's rules. He didn't care about fitting into boxes, checking industry expectations, or chasing formulas. He cared about expression, pure, authentic, and sometimes uncomfortable. That rebellious streak eventually took him beyond music and into the world of film, where he quietly carved out a second career that proved he had more than one kind of stage to stand on. He acted in over 30 films, but he didn't go after blockbuster leads or cookie-cutter supporting roles. Dwight chose characters that mirrored the same rawness he brought to his songwriting: complicated, sometimes dark, often misunderstood men. In Sling Blade, he played Doyle Hargraves, an abusive alcoholic whose presence added real tension to every frame. It was a bold choice for a musician stepping into acting, but Dwight didn't flinch. In Panic Room, he held his own alongside Hollywood giants like Jodie Foster and Forrest Whitaker, playing a cold, calculated criminal. And in Logan Lucky, he gave a memorable turn as a warden with a steely grip on order and ego. Each role showed a different shade of him: brooding, intense, unpredictable, and deeply human. What made Dwight's transition into acting so believable was that he never seemed like he was pretending. He brought the same honesty to his roles that he brought to his music. No theatrics, no showboating, just a quiet presence that carried weight. Still, despite a growing resume in film and television, he never turned his back on the art that started it all. Between film projects, Dwight always returned to the studio. He didn't just rehash old hits or lean on nostalgia. Albums like Three Pairs and Secondhand Heart showed that the fire in his voice hadn't dimmed, it had evolved. His songwriting grew more thoughtful, even playful, but it never lost the emotional edge fans counted on. Critics took notice. New listeners discovered him. Longtime fans celebrated the fact that decades later, Dwight was still pushing boundaries and staying true. And yet through all of it, the tours, the movies, the acclaim, Dwight Yoakam never seemed to chase awards or chase charts. While others measured their success in gold records and trophy shelves, he measured his in moments, in stories told, and in truth shared through a microphone or a movie lens. He wasn't interested in playing the industry game because to him, the art was the only thing that mattered. It's always been about the music, he once said, not the numbers, not the noise. In a surprising and deeply moving turn, a letter surfaced, one written by Dwight in the quiet, thoughtful hours of his later years. It wasn't part of a publicity stunt or some carefully planned legacy move. It wasn't found in a will or delivered by a spokesperson. Instead, it was tucked gently among his most personal belongings, handwritten, worn at the edges, and sealed simply with no fanfare. It wasn't addressed to the press, the music industry, or any big names in Hollywood. No, it was meant for the people who mattered most to Dwight, those who ever found something true in my music. The letter reads like the final verse of a song he never recorded. Intimate, unpolished, and honest in a way that only Dwight could be. There's no self-pity in it, no spotlight chasing, just a man looking back, acknowledging the road he's walked, and offering something real to the people who walked it with him. If you're reading this, he wrote, then the curtain's probably closed, but before it did, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me sing to you. He speaks of his mother with tenderness, remembering her quiet strength and how her voice was the first one he ever listened to with respect. He mentions his late father, how much he longed for him to see what became of the kid with a guitar and a head full of lyrics. He recalls old bandmates calling them brothers made by music, not blood, and thanking them for every tour bus conversation, every stage shared, every song they helped bring to life. But the most touching parts are for the fans. He doesn't talk about ticket sales or gold records. Instead, he remembers small moments. Strangers who told him his songs got them through heartbreak or saved them from giving up. Some of the loneliest nights I've had, he wrote, I didn't feel alone because I knew someone out there was playing my song. There's no dramatic flourish at the end, just one last line, simple and devastating in its sincerity. A line that reads like a final chorus and left many unable to hold back their tears. Don't mourn me with silence. Play something loud, something honest, and remember that I meant every word. Dwight Yoakam may be gone, but his voice, aching, defiant, unmistakably his, will echo for decades to come. It won't just live on in record collections or streaming playlists. It will live in memories, in the first dance of a young couple beneath a neon sign, in the sound system of a pickup truck rolling down an empty country road, in the stillness of a lonely night when heartbreak feels unbearable. And somehow his voice makes it feel like you're not going through it alone. Dwight didn't just sing songs. He told stories that people were too afraid to say out loud. He wasn't merely a country singer. He was a poet of the quiet moments, the aching truths, the emotions that don't come easy. What made Dwight's music so lasting wasn't just the twang of a guitar or the tilt of a cowboy hat. It was the permission he gave people to feel, to break, to heal. His songs weren't polished speeches. They were conversations. They met people in the dark and offered a light, however faint. He gave people the courage to face pain and the hope that somehow they'd make it through. And now, in his final words, Dwight gave something even more profound, a quiet offering to those who listened, those who understood, a reminder that truth, no matter how painful, no matter how heavy, is still worth telling when it's sung from the heart. Dwight never needed to raise his voice to be heard. He didn't chase trends or ride waves of popularity. He wasn't interested in likes, headlines, or being the loudest in the room. Instead, he stayed grounded in something deeper. He sang with a voice that cracked in just the right places, letting you know it wasn't perfect, and that was the point. It was real, raw, human. And in the end, that's what people will remember. Not just the hits or the hats, but the man behind them. The one who lived through the music he made, the one who turned heartache into harmony, solitude into song. He left behind more than just melodies and lyrics. He left behind pieces of himself.